Hello, hello, I'm Casey.
And I'm Fallon.
And this is
Render the Darkness.
I just did puppy paws. That's what I'm going to do for now. Puppy paws.
Dog pedal, dog pedal.
Oh, what are you looking at? Is it her hands? I don't know, they're going too fast. I can't tell. Alright, fun fact for this episode is that the ancient Romans used to drop a piece of toast into their wine for good health, which is where we get the expression, raise a toast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Wonder what kind of health benefits they got from it.
I don't know, but I would just like to know that of course it's cool because all of my fun facts are cool.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Okay, so this is the last part of the Murder of Larry McNabney. I do want to start off by saying that in part 1, I was incorrect on the author's name of Cold Blooded, the book that I was able to attain a lot of my information from. The actual name is Carlton Smith. So I apologize for that mistake. Now again, if you would like more information, there are a lot more details in that book, and I will link it in the show notes again.
Are you telling me you're human?
Yeah.
Since when?
Since we had to restart this episode.
Oh.
You remember that, don't you?
I do. I remember that. It's almost like it was 5 seconds ago.
I know. It's crazy, right?
Time. You can never tell how it's gonna go.
Yeah. So.
Welcome back.
In part.
We're not restarting it again.
Whatever faults I have, we will just stay with this time.
And just accept that you're a human and move on with your day.
Yeah, but I seem to mess up a lot more than you do.
Well, I talk a lot more than you. I'm also louder.
What's that got to do with me messing up my words?
Well, because I have like a more boisterous speech pattern than you do. So you don't say things as boldly as I say things, so the words don't come out the same. Like, it's easy for you to run your words together because you don't speak as sternly as I speak. Does that make sense?
It sounds like you're trying to say that I talk too fast.
No. What I'm trying to say is that there's a difference between people who kind of, they speak kind of like shyly speak, because you're kind of a shy speaker. You're not a bold and blunt speaker like I am. And there's a difference between people who speak shyly and people who speak boldly and bluntly. Me, I am really bad about, I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying because I usually have a point to make and I want to make sure that you're comprehending and getting the point. And I also hate repeating myself. So you don't ever have that problem because you're not a confrontational person like I am. So you don't ever have to practice that form of speech because it's not a situation you find yourself in a whole lot. Therefore, it's a speech pattern that I've practiced and you haven't. That's all I'm saying. It's not an insult. It's a compliment. We just have 2 different patterns of speech because we've been in different scenarios throughout life. And we have 2 different personalities.
All right. I will accept that explanation.
I'm loud and obnoxious and you're soft and coy.
I'm going to say that. Okay, so the last that we left you, we were talking about how Elisa, a.k.a. Lauren, was stealing money from the client's trust account and how Larry found out about it and that Lauren left the property to stay at a friend's house. So even after all of the financial trouble that Lauren had caused on multiple accounts, for some reason, Larry would marry her on January 6, 1996.
Oh, Larry, what are you doing? Are you paying attention? None at all.
No, not at all.
Larry.
And of course, it didn't take long for the money to start dwindling away again.
Oh, go figure. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Go figure. Because the money was...
Lauren's daughter was staying with them for a couple of weeks, and she would say that they were always fighting, and Larry was drunk all the time. So she decided to get an apartment with her boyfriend, but because she was only 16 at the time, Lauren had to fill out the lease, which she did in the name of Sarah Dutra, who was a 21-year-old student who would actually be a large part in the mystery of Larry's murder. Now, Sarah Dutra was born August 14th, 1980, to Mark and Karen Dutra from Vacaville, California. She was a pretty smart kid, and in her senior year, she was voted class president. She was an honor student and was part of the swim team. Now, people thought that she would go on to do great things. Now, there was a part of her life that she was embarrassed about, and it would create a disdain for men throughout her life, and it would form a tight bond between her and Lauren when the tragedy happened in 2001. This part of her life was the fact that her dad embezzled $140,000 from the Evangelical, Free Church in 1995, and he would avoid prison by paying the money back and served 500 hours of community service. In January 2000, Sarah would fill out an application for Larry's firm for a receptionist. She was excited because she never really had money, and the job offered $11 per hour and then $2,000 a month. During her first year, she didn't see Larry a lot, but she would say that as time went on, she knows that they had a love-hate relationship, and Lauren would say that he was a parasitical drag on her own success.
Okay. That's a great way to describe him.
Right? Now, everything that Sarah knew of Larry and Lauren was told to her by Lauren, so a lot of it may not have been true, and she would tell her that Larry was abusing her all the time.
Yeah, there's always the three sides to the story, like there's a her side, a his side, and then the truth somewhere in the middle.
Now, trying to convince Sarah that Larry was a terrible man, she would say that he had started having sexual encounters with underage girls, and he had even tried to hit on her daughter. She told her that Larry would often leave for weeks on a drug and alcohol binge. Now, it did seem that Lauren was trying to groom Sarah to be like her, because by summer, they were both signing his name to checks.
Not Sarah, but Lauren's just an evil person.
Now, on September 10th, 2001, there was a horse show, and another one was supposed to start that Friday. But instead of leaving and coming back, Larry and Lauren and their friends Greg and Debbie decided to stay at the Pacific Palms Hotel. That morning, Debbie and Lauren were talking about a horse that was acting funny, and Debbie said that she wished that she could give it azapromazine to calm the horse down. But the show was strictly against that. Now, Lauren would ask Debbie if that medication would kill someone, and she would say yes. That if it would calm a 1,400-pound horse, it would definitely kill someone. Now, at around 3 p.m., Larry would open the ice chest that he had in his truck, pour some champagne, and gave everyone a glass.
I'm sorry, that chick didn't find that to be a suspicious question. She was like, man, I wish I could give this drug to a horse. And then all of a sudden, Lauren from the side is like, but do you think it'd kill a human?
Right? See, that's what I was thinking whenever I wrote it.
She was just like, oh yeah, definitely. If it only relaxes a 1,400-pound horse, it'll absolutely kill a human. And then they just trucked on with their day as if that was not a very strange and suspicious question to ask.
Yeah.
I've worked in the medical field for a really long time. And even when people were being given drugs designated for people, at no point were they like, hey, if you give them this dose, is it going to kill them?
Yeah, that would definitely throw up some red
flags.
That
should be a red flag question, I think.
For sure.
Like, you have to consciously decide to ignore that question. In my opinion. Anyway, go ahead.
I agree. Now, they all talked about meeting later to eat dinner, but Larry said that he just wanted to go to the room and take a nap. Now, they would talk to Larry later that night to make sure that he was sure he didn't want anything to eat. Now, that was the last time that Greg and Debbie would ever hear Larry's voice. Later that night, Lauren would call Sarah and ask her to come back to the horse show and would tell her that Larry was going crazy. Sarah would keep most of that story to herself at the time, but eventually she would tell the rest of it. She would say that Lauren kept going back to the room to check on Larry, and she said eventually that she went back up to the room with her to see if he was still in the room and what he may have been doing. Now, she heard a lot of commotion in the room and heard Larry say that he was going to kill Lauren. Lauren came out and claimed that he had kicked her, and she showed Sarah her back. Lauren would tell Greg and Debbie that Larry had left, and Sarah would back up that story. Mm-hmm. But when they went back to the room, Larry was there. And Lauren would tell her that they had to do something about him. Now, she asked Sarah to help her take Larry out to the car, but because he was so intoxicated, they had to use a wheelchair that they would have to go and rent. And she told her that they were going to go to a different hotel.
This is all very, at no point was Sarah like, this is weird.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope, however this ends, because I can clearly see the direction that we're taking. I hope, however this ends, that it ends with Lauren and Sarah being persecuted in some kind of a way.
Yeah.
Like, I hope Sarah doesn't get off scot-free, because she clearly knew what the intentions here were. She clearly knew she was assisting in something foul play related in this situation.
Yeah. You just have to wait till
I'm gonna wait till the end, but I'm just saying, like, there's clearly something suspicious happening here.
Now, Lauren had her drive them to the barns by the hotel and told her that she was going to take Larry to the hotel and come back. But she actually had her pull up really close to Greg's horse trailer. Now, when they left, Sarah would ask Lauren what they were going to do about Larry, and Lauren said not to worry about it. Sarah looked in the mirror and seen that he had toppled over, and he looked pretty dazed. Now, Lauren had her get onto the San Bernardino freeway interstate going east. Hopefully I said that correctly.
San Bernardino.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
After a while, Sarah asked, quote, "What's going on?" And Sarah said, quote, "For your own good, you should forget you ever saw Larry today. He was never in this truck."
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the day went on, Larry would periodically ask for something to drink, and Lauren would hand him a bottle of water. I don't know, I couldn't get that out. He would drink some of it and lay back down. Now, sometime after dark, they pulled into the Woodbridge development, and Lauren told Sarah that she was going to get him to bed, and the two helped Larry, who was staggering pretty badly, to the house. Now, Sarah received a phone call from her boyfriend, and he would tell her that her parents went to her apartment and took her dog and her BMW.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Now, upset, she told Lauren, and Lauren told her to take the truck and get the dog and come back. Now, Sarah came back around 1:30 a.m., and Lauren was waiting for her. Sarah asked where Larry was, and she told her, quote, "Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it."
Uh-oh.
Now, Sarah would say that she didn't know anything else about what happened to Larry. But, of course, she knew a lot more than she admitted.
Oh, of course.
Now, I'm just going to put this out here. We're talking about a lot in this next section, horse calming drug. And the reason why I say it's horse calming drug is because I cannot say the correct term for... It's trank. No, it's trank.
Oh, she can't say the word tranquilizer.
So I call it a horse calming drug.
Never been able to say the word tranquilizer.
I just can't do it.
It's hilarious. We should, everybody, I wish we were live so I could be like, everybody vote on whether she has to say the word tranquilizer or not.
We wouldn't go anywhere because I would never, I mean, if I break it up, if you had me break it up, I can do it. Like you had to say this, I'll say it, say this, I can say it. I can't put it together. It's just my brain and my mouth won't do it. So that's why I say horse calming drug in this.
She means tranquilizer.
Yes.
So when she says horse calming drug, I'm going to say tranquilizer.
Okay, so on Monday, September 10th, Lauren and Sarah had injected Larry with a horse calming drug.
Tranquilizer.
Called xylazine. Now, when they were at the hotel, which was found when the autopsy was performed, the toxicology report came back with results of the amount found in Larry's system. There were 8 milligrams per liter of blood.
Holy crap.
Yeah, which is a very large amount because one woman actually died with only 3 milligrams. So Larry had 27 times the amount needed to be a lethal dose.
Good night.
Now, what's even crazier was that there was 69.2 milligrams per kilogram in Larry's liver.
Oh my gosh.
And some people have died with only 0.26 milligrams per kilogram.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Larry did not kick that woman. He was probably way too drugged up to have the ability to kick that woman.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. So, again, he had 270 times that amount in his liver.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can't believe he lived as long as he did.
I know. In her confession later, Lauren said that they drove to Yosemite National Park to bury Larry, but he actually hadn't died yet. So they took him back to Sacramento, feeding him dose after dose of the medication.
Oh my gosh. This poor dude.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, Larry would die the next day. They would later take his body to a winery that was close by and bury him in a shallow grave near Linden, California on February 5th, 2002.
These women are monsters.
Now, by the time his body had been found, Lauren had drained the bank accounts and fled. The hunt for Lauren was now underway.
I'm sure Sarah was with her. No?
Now, on January 10th, 2002, Lauren's daughter picked her up and they would meet a man and stay in his condo for about a month and a half. The couple got into an argument and he evicted them. Now, knowing that the police were looking everywhere for her now, she knew that they had to leave. So Lauren used her charm and met a man at a restaurant that owned a dry cleaning business, and she convinced him to take her home. While he slept, she took $600 in cash, some of his credit cards, and the keys to his truck, got her daughter, and crossed the Georgia state line. Now, driving the stolen truck, she called a taxi for her daughter to take her back to her friend's house in Fort Walton Beach. Lauren actually told her daughter the truth about what she had done to Larry the night before. After hearing what her mother had said, she made her promise to call her if she ever thought about taking her own life. Lauren wrote to her daughter an 8-page letter that would basically tell her that, not to go down the same path that she did. In the letter, she would tell her that she wasn't strong enough to face consequences of what she had done, and now she didn't have to worry about running because she planned to end it soon. Now, after she was done with the letter, she went to the beach. She planned to swim out until she was so tired she couldn't swim anymore, and then she would be too far out to turn around. So she started walking to the ocean. Now, the police had Lauren's daughter under surveillance, and when the taxi pulled in, they grabbed her and went into the house. Her daughter said that she was worried her mother was going to hurt herself, and they had asked where she was last. And she said that she was at the Winn-Dixie store. The police located Lauren's truck, and they fanned out to look for her, and she was finally arrested a little before 10:15 p.m. on March 18th while she was smoking her last joint.
Okay.
At 11:45 p.m., the police started to interview Lauren. Apparently, her intention at the time was to get the two investigators to feel bad for her, so she started to talk about Larry and made him sound pretty terrible, which a lot of what she said wasn't true.
This woman is just boundless. Like, she just has nothing she won't say.
Yeah. Now, Harker from the FBI asked the majority of the questions, and after he found out her identity as Elisa McNabney, that was wanted on a felony warrant, she would tell him that her real name was Lauren Renee Sims Jordan, and she was from Brooksville, Florida. She said that she had been on the run for 9 years, and that when she saw the police searching the beach, she knew it was over. She said, quote, "I knew something had to happen. Either I need to put a bullet in my head or I needed to deal with it. And did I kill my husband? Yes, I killed my husband." Now, she claimed that he had a problem with substance abuse as well as alcohol, and when they were doing good, he would actually leave for days at a time. She said that Larry started to put his hands on her on July 2nd, 1995, and that he would threaten that if she ever left him, they would take her daughter from her. She claimed that the drug use had gotten worse by the summer of 2001, and she said that she had bought him a horse to hopefully keep his mind off of the drugs, and she said that he had actually stolen $10,000 from the client trust account, and throughout the next year he continued to steal from that account to pay for his habit. She claimed that he hired a woman named Sarah Dutra as a secretary, and she would actually ask if she was in jail in California, and they said they didn't know where she was, but she wasn't in jail yet.
Well, here's the thing about you being a murderer. They don't usually believe a lot of the things that murderers say when it comes to victim blaming and victim shaming.
Agreed.
Like, she wasn't even trying to claim that this was really self-defense. She was just trying to claim, like, hey, he was an asshole. He deserved it.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is, like, he was constantly abusing her.
So she claims.
That's what she claims.
Yeah, so she claims.
Now, she went on to say that they had gone to the horse show and stayed at the hotel for about 11 days, that Larry would start drinking at 10 in the morning and claimed that one day he held her dog out of the 9th-story balcony, saying he was going to kill it, but he brought it back inside and proceeded to assault her. She said that Sarah was supposed to be there that day, and it was the day that actually Sarah had said that they should kill Larry. Now, Harker asked her, quote, "So Sarah's idea or your idea?" And she said they both talked about it, and she said, quote, "What are we going to do with him? We couldn't send him back to rehab. He's going to bust out. We got to get the business straightened out. We have so much stuff we have to do, and I was dealing with a jeopardized past anyway, and I didn't want to attract attention."
So she's kind of blaming Sarah now.
Yeah. Now she gets to the morning of September 12th, and it's 6 in the morning, and at this time Larry has died. She continues to say that her and Sarah talk back and forth about what to do with him, and they decide to wrap him in a sheet and wrap duct tape around him. They dragged him to a refrigerator that was in the garage and put Larry inside. They both left, and the next day she called Sarah and asked her to go and check on Larry, and Sarah would tell her that she actually had already gone to the house and that Larry had fallen out and she had to put him back and duct tape the whole refrigerator to keep it shut. The next day they would tell everyone that he had gone back to the cult. On December 12th, they talked about it and determined it would be best to take Larry to Las Vegas and drop him there. She said that they had put him in the trunk of their car and left. That first night, Lauren went looking for a suitable place to bury him, but wasn't able to find one. The next night, she found a place and started digging, but stopped, went back to the hotel, and told Sarah she couldn't do it. So they came back Sunday, and Sarah would say that she had to bury him that day. So Lauren decided to bury him in a vineyard, and then she went all over town to get rid of his clothes and shoes in different dumpsters. At 2:20 a.m. on March 19th, Parker wrote out a statement, and she would sign it. Now, Detective Deborah Scheffel and 4 other detectives got to Sarah's apartment a little after midnight. She wanted to talk to Sarah again before she had the chance to see Lauren's statement. She would tell her about Lauren being arrested and said that she needed to tell the truth because her and her daughter were talking. Sarah was wondering if Lauren was trying to put the blame on her, and the detective said that she didn't know what she really had said yet, but they were talking and it would be in her best interest to tell the truth. Now, the detective would continue to ask all kinds of questions, and Sarah would eventually tell her that Lauren asked her to go upstairs, and she would ask her why, and Lauren would tell her that Larry was dead. She said that they should call the police, but Lauren told her if she did, she would end up like Larry. She claimed that she made her help put Larry's body in the refrigerator, and a little after 3 a.m., Sarah was read her rights, and she would waive them, and she would say that that was the last time that she actually saw Larry's body was in the garage at the house. The detectives thought that the women had talked about the murder prior, and if they could get Sarah to admit that, then they could get Lauren for first-degree murder and possibly Sarah too. Now, Sarah would claim that they may have talked about it before, but it was never serious. The detective started preparing her to go back to her apartment, and Sarah was now her star witness against Lauren. Now, back in Brooksville, Lauren met with their family lawyer and told him about her and Larry's marriage. She would tell him that he would constantly assault her, so her lawyer, Tom Hogan, started to think that she had a defense. On March 29, 2002, she wrote Hogan a letter basically saying that even though she had a good reason to do what she did, she would still go to jail for the rest of her life. So she asked him to protect her daughter and, if needed, to become her guardian. Then she asked that he tell her that she didn't want her to bear the burden of her mother being in jail for the rest of her life. So just to put a content warning here, there is mention of self-harm and unaliving. So Lauren then started talking about how the prison wasn't doing its job, that they weren't watching her. She would say that they had handled cases before where someone died in prison and the prison was held liable and had to pay $50,000. She said that, quote, "I don't believe CCA would be included in the governmental cause." She would go on to write that if she died in Florida jail, that they would be able to probably get more than $50,000. She would say that she wasn't strong enough and that her dad would understand that it was for the best. She would include in the letter all of the things that the prison wasn't allowing her to do in order to make for a better lawsuit. Then she closed the letter with, quote, "P.S. Tell my parents I love them." That night, Lauren used strips that she tore from her bed sheets to make a rope, threaded it through the air vent, and hung herself. She was taken to the Brooksville Regional Hospital, but she would die the next day. Now, on January 6, 2003, Sarah's trial began, and Lauren's death, on one hand, hindered her because now she was the only one to face justice. But on the other hand, the only real evidence against her was a testimony from Lauren. Now, she would tell her story, and by the end, the jury would agree that there wasn't any real evidence that she wanted to murder Larry. There was a charge of an accessory after the fact on the table as well, and that was pretty solid, since she had admitted helping put Larry's body in the refrigerator on tape. Now, it took the jury 3 days to deliberate. The 6 men and 6 women were divided on the first-degree murder charge. The men thought that she was innocent, but the women didn't.
How in the world did they think she was innocent? Anyway, all right, good. The whole jury system just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it just got regular, common old folks that are picked out of a hat, a random draw, to be the members of this jury. Anyway, sorry, that's a soapbox for another time.
No, you're fine. So they would actually deliberate on second-degree murder with intent to kill without premeditation, but again, they were deadlocked. Finally, they decided to consider voluntary manslaughter because she didn't do anything to help Larry in the situation, and they found her guilty. The next month, the San Joaquin County Supervisor Court Judge Bernard J. Garber gave Sarah the maximum sentence that he could under the law. She was sentenced to 11 years in prison.
That's it. 11 years.
That's it. So that is the story of the tragic murder of Larry McNabney.
Where essentially no justice was served.
Well, I mean...
Lauren took the coward's way out.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, I mean, but... I'm just saying she's no longer here.
I mean, yeah,
so,
but that was by her own choice.
Yeah,
Larry didn't get to choose if he wanted to be here or not.
Yeah.
You know, at least when somebody gets sentenced, like the penalty of the death sentence or whatever, it's not typically their decision.
Right.
At least it's a decision in the hands of somebody else, which is essentially what murdering someone is. It's another, death of a person at the hands of somebody else. Yeah. So at least when a jury decides it, it's some kind of justice in that, because you're taking it out of their hands and you're giving it to somebody else who gets to make that decision. The same kind of concept of whatever crime they committed that resulted in someone's death.
Right.
When she chooses to kill herself, there's not really any justice in that, because it was still in her hands. It was still her decision to make. She got to choose that, which is more than Larry got.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I
feel like there wasn't really any justice here in this case at all.
Yeah, no, but I mean...
Poor Larry.
Yeah, I feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's like, bro, there were so many red flags. And I'm not saying there were any red flags that should indicate to him that she might kill him one day, but certainly red flags that marriage was not the right route to take.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I mean, he made some bad decisions, but, I mean... Like I said, in that book, there's a lot more detail, and it gives a lot more of the story. And yeah, I don't really think she was telling the truth about a lot of what she was saying Larry was doing.
Oh yeah, no, I don't believe what she was saying either. I don't believe he was abusive to her at all, at least not physically.
Yeah, which I mean, in the book, the only thing is like I didn't really see. I mean, I may have accidentally glanced over it. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really see the reason
for her to kill him.
Yeah, like why she actually did it.
Did he have some kind of like a life insurance policy? Was she going to be left with the company that she thought she could maybe take in a different direction and start making money her own way? She just wanted to wipe out the bank accounts without having a thumb on top of her. Like, I can think of lots of different motives, and it all boils down to the same thing: money.
Yeah. I mean, that was my initial thought. It was probably money. But like I said, I just didn't see she didn't say, this is why I did it.
Right.
Like I said, I don't know if I maybe accidentally glanced over it or passed over it, but
she never confessed to her reasons for why she chose that route.
Yeah, so.
Very interesting case on old Larry McNabney. Thank you for sharing that, and I will definitely check out the Cold-Blooded book, as should you guys. If you do, make sure you like it, and maybe even leave a review for the author. It helps, we've talked about before. It tremendously helps them in so many different ways for you to just take a second and just, even if it's something as simple as really liked it or wasn't that great, good or bad reviews can help.
Yeah, I need to leave a review after.
And same goes for, podcasters and content creators alike, all the way across the board. Any kind of a like, share, subscribe, any of that helps a lot. And if you have feedback or you feel a certain way about a content creator and what they're saying or what they're doing or their approach to things, whether it's a good opinion or a bad opinion, positive feedback, negative feedback, it can help. You know, it's kind of like I always tell my husband, if I make something and it tastes bad, don't tell me it tastes good, because I'm going to keep making it bad, because you told me it tastes good, so I'm going to assume that's the way you want me to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the same concept as that. So, you know, any feedback is productive, potentially productive feedback for the creators and for the authors and producers and writers and such. So if you have it, feel free to throw it
to
that direction.
Them or to whoever.
Other than that, that's our time. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate each and every one of you.
And the next one that I do will be one part, I promise.
But make sure that, like I said, if you got a second and you like what we're doing, please...